Welcome back to Game Day Recap, and welcome back to the NFL, the Detroit Lions. Nothing like a 50-piece to soothe your soul after a Week 1 loss to a divisional opponent. They hand their former offensive coordinator a 52-21 loss. Detroit has now won 11 straight following a loss. They haven't lost back-to-back games since 2022, and it also marked their third 50-point game in their last 2 seasons. Jared Goff was electric, and we've been electric here at CBS Sports HQ. This is Game Day Recap. Haley Sutton, happy to be joined by Damien Harris, Carthon, and our guy Pete Prisco. And for those of you at home, we also have Sunday Night Football on. It is a true barn burner, 6-3 there, so we'll keep our eye on Sunday Night Football. But I want to turn our attention to the Lions. I mentioned Jared Goff. He had a bounce-back game, those 5 touchdowns. Damien, when you look at what the Lions were able to do today, it obviously felt like last week was kind of a miscue. What did you learn? What were you happy about when it comes to Detroit's win today?
Well, I learned that today was personal for more reasons than one. I mean, first of all, coming off a Week 1 loss, the way that they looked, I know they had a bad taste in their mouth because that's the Detroit Lion of old. That's not the new Detroit Lion identity. And then, of course, facing Ben Johnson. I mean, we saw it at the end of the game. It's 4th and goal. You're up about 4 or 5 scores, and you go for it and you score. They asked Ben Johnson about it at the end of the game. You could tell he didn't like the question, but he had to answer it respectfully. I mean, what do you expect them to do? And they did it because it was personal. Ben Johnson, now the head coach of Chicago, they wanted to put a stamp on the fact that the grass ain't always greener on the other side, and they proved that. I mean, when you've got Jared Goff, when you've got what they call him, Knuckles and Sonic, when you got them guys, when you got Amon-Ra, when you've got Jameson Williams, you've got just a plethora of weapons, and it's like, this is what you left? You left to go over here? Okay, we're going to show you what you're missing. And then the superstars played like superstars today. So what did I learn, Haley, outside of the fact that today's game was personal? That the Detroit Lions are not going anywhere. They're not a bad football team. Last week was a one-off. I fully expect them to be in the new Detroit Lion fashion that we've seen as of lately.
Listen, before we toss it over to Pete, because I'll speak my piece later.
It's like we have to get you in.
No, on this. Here's what I'll say, and I said this last week. They're a new team. 2 new coordinators, and they're learning how to use the weapons, how to get people involved. John Morton has to learn how to call a game with Jared Goff and these weapons and how to keep everyone into it. And he did that. And then the other part, as we were sitting here and we were in the room and we were watching, I was wondering, maybe they didn't want to put too much out there waiting for Ben Johnson. Like, hey, you're going to hold his 50 burger this week. And trust me, I was on the other end of the other 50 burger that you talked about last year with the Titans. But you said it was personal. And yes, it is personal. Because you know, if you're playing your best friend in a one-on-one game, you want those bragging rights. And you're going to run that person's face into the mud. And Ben Johnson, he may not have liked the question, but he was on the other side of it last year. And it was all fun and games until the rabbit got the gun. I'll just leave it at that.
So wait, so they lost the Packers game so they could save stuff for this?
No, I'm just
I'm just saying. I'm just trying to see where he's going.
They were trying to win. But no, all I was saying was, like, again, they're still learning. John Morton's still learning this football team.
I'm with you. The biggest difference for me today was last week when you watch the tape from the Lions game, their identity has always been the offensive line. Strong, physical, nasty, violent. They were not that last week. Frank Ragnow retired. Graham Glasgow goes to center, wasn't very good. 2 new guards didn't play very well. Sewell didn't play great, and Decker didn't play well. Those are the strengths of the team. This week it looked like, and we haven't watched the tape, but it looked like from the game we watched today, they were much better on the offensive line. That's who they are. You can call a great game when your offensive line can do what they can do, and it looked like it was different today.
What is your take on Ben Johnson on the other side of this one? I know we kind of got the emotional side of it, but is he the savior that Chicago needs?
Well, I mean, it's too early. I mean, we're not going to quit on the guy after 2 games, but
you quit on some people.
What I quit on?
The Dolphins.
Who? Well, I mean, that's a whole. He's got a body of work already. You give him a couple years like that, and I'll quit on him too.
He just needs an orange jersey.
I mean, look, it just goes to show you that you can't, identify this guy and say he's the savior. He's going to come in and fix it. There's too many problems there, and we saw it today. Here's the other part of the problem. We talk about Ben Johnson and that offense. The defense was awful today. Awful. I mean, they didn't stop anybody. And we go back to the second half of the game against J.J. McCarthy. They weren't great in that game either. So that, to me, is the biggest concern when you look at the Chicago Bears right now.
Another concern for me is Caleb Williams doesn't really look any different right now.
No.
We all thought that, at least with the football mind, the offensive mind that Ben Johnson is, that could help Caleb Williams with some of the struggles he's seen since coming to the National Football League, where the competition is higher. But again, you're looking at the numbers: 19 for 30, 207 yards. I mean, those are numbers that a backup quarterback that can come in and manage the game similar to a Jake Browning. Those are those type of numbers you expect to see. But this is the Heisman Trophy winner. Listen, everybody has expectations. Now, even the bad teams have expectations. When you have the career up to this point that Caleb Williams has had, there are expectations. He hasn't met them yet. We thought pairing him with Ben Johnson would help to elevate him a little bit, but it's still just the same level of inconsistency.
And to me, it's the same question that we were just talking about with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chicago, what's your identity? We know what Ben Johnson's identity is, but do you currently have the team that fits your identity? And so now that's going to be a question for Chicago. They have guys at receiver. They have the 2 tight ends. They have Caleb. And so, but even that, I feel like that's the missing piece of this offense is the running game. And because you have a right tackle that you invested in. Then you invested in the interior of your offensive line, making moves this offseason. So now you need that quality back or 2 that he had, Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit, that you're currently missing in Chicago, which now puts everything on Caleb Williams' plate and for him to be the one to lead this team. And I think right now he isn't up to the task. And so that for Chicago moving forward, you have to figure out what your identity is and be able to address those positions to build this football team.
They invested in a center who didn't fit what they do. They paid him a lot of money, Drew Dahlman. He was terrible in week 1. I haven't seen it today. The right guard was awful last week. I mean, Tooney was good, but the rest of that line was bad. You know what they should do? They should ask Caleb Williams to give back some money so he can get another Here, just give it all back and get another offensive lineman.
I will add that there is a positive coming out of that does not require Caleb Williams to give his money back. The partnership with Rome Odunze and what we're seeing out of him growing into that role is 3rd receiving touchdowns to his first 2 games of the season. So Rome is figuring it out for the Bears. I want to pivot, though, and go over and talk Aaron Glenn, because for as much as we give him credit for trying to revamp this program, the reality is he still has a defense that's giving up 30 points. And I get it. It's against the Bills. You lose your quarterback to a concussion. But, Pete, do we expect any step forward, I guess, when it comes to the Jets now that what you've seen through 2 weeks?
The biggest concern, you mentioned the defense. It wasn't just today. I mean, Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdown passes against them last week. I mean, that's 2 weeks in a row. The identity, you talk about a team identity of the Jets with Aaron Glenn was supposed to be a physical, tough, nasty defense. And so far, they haven't come close to that. And so that's the biggest good. Look, we know offensively, because of the quarterback position, they're going to be limited. That's what they are. Justin Fields can make a play, can run, but he struggles sometimes throwing the football consistently. And look, they're going to start looking for a quarterback. That's what they're going to do. But they figured they could play defense and run the ball and keep themselves in games. They haven't played defense yet. And with Aaron Glenn being the head coach, that's the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, playing against the Jets, I felt like they always had an identity. Whether they were good or they're bad, they at least had an identity. And you know it was going to be a tough defense to go against. And I don't know if this even correlates, but when C.J. Mosley retired from the Jets, that's when it felt like their defense just kind of unraveled. I look at their defense, I'm like, who is the leader? I mean, I know I've said this about other teams, but Quinnen Williams, a guy that has been paid, he's been all-pro, he's been a Pro Bowler. Again, that's a guy that I look to be a leader. I'm not really getting that.
Quiet.
Yeah, he's been quiet. Even his brother, Quincy, quiet. Another guy, Pro Bowler, should be making an impact. Very quiet. Like there's no impact makers or no difference makers right now.
Sauce should be a leader too, and
he should be, and he's not. They're just not. And it seems like a team full of players that are uncertain. Although their coach Aaron Glenn may be positive about what he wants to do, but again, the players are just uncertain. And even with Justin Fields at quarterback, I mean, he obviously looks uncertain whenever he's dropping back to throw the football. They don't look like they know what they want to do as far as running the ball with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. I mean, it's just a lot of confusion, and it's weird because it doesn't seem like confusion on the coaching part. It's just the players.
I will pose this question. Do we feel like this Jets defense has taken a step back with the change in scheme and coordinate? Because to me that's the biggest thing, right? You come into this first year as Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, a new regime, new staff. So essentially what you'd like to do when you're building a new organization is you'd like to accentuate what you do well while you rebuild on the other side, right? Which is they're trying to rebuild on offense and add pieces here and there. However, a lot of these pieces on defense aren't technically their guys or true scheme fits for what they want to do. So you have good players, but they're learning a new way of doing things that may not coincide with what their skill set and this scheme requires.
But plus, they went out right before the season and got Phillips because they were worried about their defensive tackle position, and so they clearly were unsettled. By the way, if we want to blame anybody for all the Jets mess, let's blame Rick Spielman, okay? He used to sit right in that seat.
Right,
we'll blame him.
This is exactly why in the previous segment where he was trying to put my name out there for the next Dolphins GM, I kept it quiet because I know if that opportunity or any opportunity presented itself, he'll be sitting right here trying to get me fired.
He will. He will. Right as rain.
I'll be your teammate. Okay. We'll be here together. How about that?
All right. We're going to pivot and talk Ravens. Another strong offensive performance from Baltimore here. There were some questions, I guess, on the other side of this one, and we're going to kind of walk you through it because Myles Garrett felt a little disrespected when it came to the spread on this one. It was, I believe, minus 11.5. So we're just going to walk you through it. Let's listen in to Myles Garrett pregame on NFL Today Plus.
You pay attention to the lines and the spreads, and you felt disrespected this week. Is that right?
Absolutely. 2-score underdogs going into a game where we've won, I believe, 2 of the last 3 matchups is, wildly disrespectful, and we take that to heart.
Wildly disrespectful. I'm going to read you some stats about the Cleveland Browns today. They start the season 0-2 for the first time since 2017. That year they finished 0-6. They've now lost 5 straight divisional games and 8 straight games overall. And after the game, Myles Garrett called it embarrassing, Damien. It's hard to talk and say what you said in the pregame and then go out and put out this performance. What's the biggest issue that you're seeing?
Before you pass it along to him, I want to pass this fan along to Damien before he gets hot.
Listen.
Before he gets hot with what he's about to say.
I'm going to keep this nice and cool. I'm going to keep this nice and breezy, right? Here's the thing. First of all, the spread might have been a little bit too respectful. We're talking about disrespect. It clearly was with a lot of respect. A lot. Another thing that we got to address, you can't go out there and talk about how embarrassing it was after, in the beginning, you said this is an insult. Well, you were a part of the problem. Now, granted, Myles Garrett does Myles Garrett things. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying he doesn't increase the Browns' chances of winning. But, my boy, if you weren't out there tackling nobody, get something going. I don't even really want to try to analyze this too much. This is just a simple case of don't let your mouth write a check that your ASS can't cash. Because if you do, then you just look like a fool. And I hate it for Myles Garrett because he's not a fool. He's a good football player. He's a great guy. But at the end of the day, you went out, you said some stuff before the game, you didn't back it up, and then after the game, now you're sitting here like, damn, I'm embarrassed.
Well, he had a sack and a half, so he did it. He did
it.
He might want to point to the quarterback because the quarterback was awful today, and which brings up the next question about do they make a change within the next 5-6 weeks? Or when do you make a change? Because Dylan Gabriel came into the game and he did some things late in the game. So clearly the Browns aren't going anywhere this year. We all agree on that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if they're not going anywhere, don't they have, if you drafted Dylan Gabriel, don't you have to find out what he is rather than have a 40-year-old quarterback play? Particularly he's going to play the way he did today?
Well, I think no matter what, at some point throughout this season, you're going to have to see these other quarterbacks play because that's going to allow you to build your team for the future. You're sitting there with 2 first-round draft picks next year, and based off of your record, is going to determine if you're going to be in position to take one of these college quarterbacks. And so at some point during this season, you're going to have to find out who these other guys are because you know Joe Flacco isn't your future.
Well, we know that Dylan Gabriel went 3 of 3, had 19 yards and a touchdown in this one. So maybe things heating up.
Garbage time.
For Joe Burrow. It was garbage time. But, hey, more conversations to be had on Sunday mornings. Make sure you lock into NFL Today Plus, I should say, streaming every Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern with Amanda Guerra and the guys.